Hi, this is Laurie from To The Trade, and I have Nile here with me. Hi, Nile. How is it
It's
going?
going.
Yeah, I've had pretty much the week from
I know.
hell.
Yep, yep. I think our wings came from identical places, so I get it. Yeah,
Yes, yeah. Everything that could go wrong has gone
yeah.
wrong. And I've been working every night until like midnight, and I've been dealing with a lot of like emotions from a lot of different designers and there's just a lot going on that I'm trying to make sure that everybody gets what they need to get, and it's not always easy
No,
to make
no.
sure that happens. No. Now that my kids are becoming, Phyllis, I've been an empty nester recently. And so now that my kids have launched, I feel like interior designers have become my second kids. And I have a lot of kids.
Students, clients, coaching.
I'm the old lady who lived in the shoe, who had so many children, I didn't know what to do.
I love it.
But Phyllis, tell us a little bit about you and your business. I know our listeners are going to be so excited to hear about you and what you bring to the table. You are an amazing designer coach. You work with designers all around the country, and I know that your projects are next level. So just give us a
Well,
little bit
thank
of
you
your
so much. I'm
background,
honored to
please.
be here, and I'm so glad that we met and we connected. And the community you've created is really fantastic. And even though you're having chaotic vibration this week, there's something going on in the universe. You've got this. So just know that. And you're
Yes,
doing good things for everybody. So good things will come to you. And later, I'll teach you a mantra.
I hope
I'm positively expecting great results no matter what I see in front of me. The universe is rearranging itself for your best interest right now, and so it is.
Oh, I love that.
I love
And I
that.
use that
I can't
all the
love that. I got
time,
chills.
even to get a parking spot, when there's traffic, when I'm not feeling great. Like it works on so many different levels. So, yeah.
That is good.
I'm a big believer of of that kind of principle of trying to expect. I'm almost always an over
Better than
optimist.
being a
I don't know if
pessimist
that's a
because you're
thing.
promoting positive energy instead of negative.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
very
Yeah.
good.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
my journey started in a very different way. I was in a medical school, pre-med, and then went into international relations and landed in design as a second degree. And then I started my practice right away because I was getting divorced and I needed to work. So it just kind of happened and catapulted. And then I started teaching at the same time I was building my practice. So I've been a designer and a professor for since 1995, I would say. So it's been an interesting path of blending the learning in the classroom and then the learning of the practice and growing the practice and mentoring people. Almost every single person that I've ever had on my team, and I've built team over the last 33 years, has been a student of mine. So that's my Indeed or ZipRecruiter is my classroom because I find unbelievably raw talent, fabulous people, know their work ethic in terms of their projects. And so if anybody is looking and not happy with what results they get when they hire from, an unknown source, give back, teach. You'll see that the rewards are really amazing because you'll connect in a very different way and a different level with people that could learn from you and you can, really benefit from their talent. So that's been a huge game changer for me.
You know,
That's amazing.
Niall was also a
Yeah.
professor of design as well. So you have that in common. He has worked with design students for a long time and certainly gives back to the design community in a huge way. It's really not easy to be a
No,
teacher.
it's
It's
not.
just sometimes it's just the constraint of school is, and fitting in what it is interior designers do. It's just there's just not enough time, I think, to prepare students for the life that will be ahead and
Yeah.
how to handle the challenges. I think that that's a big struggle. We had a question come in today. It's an interior design, and this person reminded me of you, Niall. They said, I've been doing this for 5 years and I can't get over the hump of being able to talk to people who are I'm going to have to tell them bad news,
Mm,
or I'm going to have to tell them something they don't like.
yeah.
I am an introvert.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable in that situation in any way. And I can't, even if 5 years in, I'm not feeling very comfortable with it. And I just thought, wow, that's something some people are lucky that they have that in within them to be able to I think interior design, I will just say, like, I think interior design attracts people pleasers in general.
Yeah.
So that goes against, nobody wants to be the bad guy saying it's
Right.
broken or it's got a 3-month
But I think
delay.
it's
you know,
how you
so people
phrase it.
pleasers have a
Yeah.
particular hard
How
time with
you
that.
phrase it. And it's never easy because we don't want to disappoint our clients. They're our lifeblood.
No.
But stuff happens and it happens more
Oh
now
yeah.
than ever. So people don't read. People aren't careful. People don't pack things properly. People drop things. It's just, they're too busy on devices to really be present and pay attention. So it's
Hmm.
unfortunate when we have to deliver the bad news, but if you've created an atmosphere of trust and your clients know, like, and trust you, you can say, listen, I want you to understand that I have your best intentions at heart always. And we know this. And people, you came to me through so and so, so you know that I'm going to stand behind everything. But we have some hiccups in the project. Like, you don't even have to say bad news. You can say we have some hiccups or we have some issues instead of like making it so negative. It's better to,
Mhm.
they
Words are
really are.
important.
And if you're an
Absolutely. Yeah.
introvert, so something that you may try that people that I know have tried because I've told them that this might work for them, you can chat GPT a little conversation in your voice if chat knows you, and then read it, edit it so it sounds more like what you would say. And then when you're making the call, just keep it near you so that you can refer and start to get comfortable with the languaging of how to let someone know, because you want to communicate. Say, listen, I really want to communicate with you. I want the lines open. I want to make sure you understand everything. And then give them that chance to absorb it and say, I'm going to be with you every step of the way, and it will be taken care of. And that's all they really care about, is that it's going to be taken care of. Stuff happens.
Yeah, and I think an important part to remember that I think that gets lost in the way because it is
Mhm.
viewed as your work. So you're thinking of it very in terms of this is your work. But I will say that this is also their I mean, imagine if you were out of that equation, they would still have problems. They would still have things go wrong and they would have to be handling it.
Yeah.
So, and that is sometimes the forgotten thing that interior designers, yes, these problems are going to happen no matter what, and even prefacing that in the beginning of the project to say, you know, these projects can sometimes become bumpy along the way, but it is my job to handle the
Mhm.
problems as they come along and to take care of that for you. And that's part of the service of hiring an interior designer is that they're taking care of some of these things for you. And believe me, you don't want to be solving these
Exactly.
problems
And that's
behind
part
closed
of your
doors.
sales pitch.
They're
That's
not
part
easy
of your sales.
problems. And they require relationships too. I mean, long-term relationships help
Yeah,
fix some of these problems. Doing it by yourself without those relationships would almost be impossible in some cases. So I think that that's a really great response. We've talked about ChatGPT as such a resource for designers to be able to even reframe how they feel about it. If they get that email from the client and it's a sharp email, like looking at, just putting in ChatGPT and having it rewrite it. So you're not reading the sharper version, you're reading the easier on you version that isn't going to give you an emotional response. Sometimes that is a way to do that too. So, even just like
yeah.
protecting what's coming into your
And
own
I would say that
brain.
we all interpret words very differently. One of the things that I do with my students is I use a program called ScreenPal so that when I'm giving their critiques, they're hearing me instead of just reading what they want to read and hearing it the way they would hear it. So I've found that to
Oh,
be extraordinarily powerful. They love it. They feel like even in an online environment, they've got me because they can see me or they can hear me
right.
and they hear the intonation in my voice of when I'm giving the critique with the positives and the things that could be improved or wins and learns, so to speak, instead of wins and losses. So there's always a way to frame it. But I think that if you get an email from a client, get on the phone with them. I know the phone is very foreign to the younger generations, but it is a much more powerful way, or get on a Zoom, like show here, look what's going on. Like yesterday, we had this install happening and shelves were going up, and I was really unhappy with it. And I said, listen, you wanted these shelves, they were not the best quality, and here's what they look like up. I really don't think you're going to be happy. I stepped away, I showed them, I said, but here's the thing, we can take them down, we can leave them here, you can see them when you come back to town, and then we can make a decision of what goes next. So there's ways to do it so that they feel
Yeah,
empowered and you also feel like you've protected them, you've protected you, and there's not that icky feeling. And Laurie, you put it best, like
right.
we are the advocates for our clients. We are like the shepherds through the process. So if you can explain that from the get-go, when you have your first initial consultation and you're presenting your portfolio, it's really important that they understand that that's your role, that it's not just to pick things and be brilliant about designing something and put together the most amazing plan, but it's also about this relationship. And I think that's why I still have clients
Yeah,
that I've been working with for 30 years. And like one today, she's
right, right.
97 and we're ordering a Missoni carpet today, 97. So, you know,
Wow.
curtains,
That's awesome.
lighting, like, and so you really, you just don't know what you don't know. And when I first got her, I was much younger, 30 years younger. And I was afraid to take her because she was already like 65 and I was really young. And my salesperson at Crabbe, who was older, said to me, you should not be afraid. This is a great client for you because they know themselves, they've been through it, and she already had a designer, and she's going to be great. And she has been. So, I think
Yeah,
that sometimes we put blinders on or we put preconceived notions just like clients do. And getting rid of that and just being open to the process really, really helps. And really being careful when
I love
you're
that.
interviewing with a client, but you're interviewing that client too. And especially if you're in your first
Yeah,
5 years, you
yeah,
think you have to take everything because you're building your business. But I would advise you not to do that because you should only take the clients that truly resonate in your heart and feel really yummy and good, because energy will be the narrative for your entire design process through
Mhm.
completion. And if that narrative doesn't feel unbelievably great, forget the money aspect of it.
Mhm.
Because, they could tell you in the beginning they have a really small budget and then they could be great and you love them, but you're afraid. But if you love them and you like the idea of the project, don't not take it for money and don't take a project for money. Like take it because it speaks
Mhm.
to you, you really feel a good rapport with somebody. I always do a client intake questionnaire they have to fill out. And if they say we don't know our budget, I'll give them an idea of what it would cost based on, like, I'll show them some images and say, this would cost this would cost that, like, a full room. So they could get an idea of how we work so that they're not like saying, oh, well, we don't have a budget, because everybody does. Everyone knows what they
Yeah.
want to
right.
spend. They just don't want to tell you because they'd like it to come in for less than what they
Sure,
want to spend. So it's your
sure.
job to educate them, and educating them is also a realistic budget for their project.
Yes, absolutely. I think that that's one of the conversations that designers should obviously have in the beginning
Absolutely.
too, that the budget isn't, I'm not asking for the budget because I want to spend your money. I'm asking for your budget because I want to know where to
Right.
split this pie. I want to make sure that I'm being good steward of your finances and knowing how much we can spend it on different items. I mean, and I can't just do that without knowing where the limit is, or where you'd
And
like
some
to
of them
be.
really don't know
So,
how to phrase that for you. So I think giving them
right.
images and saying, this is a this kind of project, this is this kind of project, and here's where more of it went,
Yes. I
then
love
they
that.
understand.
That's a really great
And
idea.
so you're empowering them to make the right decisions as well as you making the right decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like when designers in their investment guide will have images of rooms, and this is about this budget, like
Mhm.
have ranges for the different images, and to be very firm that like if you want it to look like this, it
No,
can't be done for less, really. I'm
no,
not a DIYer who can like I'm not going to put fake
exactly.
stuff on
And I'm
to make it look
not
like
going
this.
to
It's I want
go
to
to
put
Home
things
Goods
in that are
and
real.
do your living room or Ashley Furniture
Right.
or
Right.
wherever it is that you don't want to shop.
Mhm.
So it also has to be, it has to be something
Right.
that speaks to your heart too. Like some designers want to do that. They want to be
Sure.
design on a dime. They want to do it for the least amount of money, please their clients, and that's their niche. But for those of us that don't have that, you need to be upfront with your clients about it. Like your workrooms are special, the quality of craftsmanship of the people that you bring to the project is next level. You've vetted them, you've used them for X amount of years, yada, yada, or they've been in business for this amount of years and you've used them on X amount of projects. So just like really vetting those people to your clients and letting them know and being very transparent about it, I think is really helpful because we're only as good as the people that support us, our trades, right? Like we can't do
Right.
it without them. It's not a television show and it doesn't
Right.
happen in 24 hours either. So, I mean, I did Designer's Challenge. I won Designer's Challenge years and years ago, and it's not real, it's fake. So,
No.
and I'll be the first to say that. Like, I had a whole spreadsheet budget. They got $100,000 dining room for 30 because everybody put away
Right.
to be on TV.
Right. Everybody gave yeah, to be on TV, right, and
Yep.
that's happening actually less and less now too, so the budgets are smaller and smaller. You're not getting those kinds of, deals
No,
anymore
no,
on
showrooms are
on
not in that
television.
business anymore. They're not even doing
They
co-houses. They
can't, they
can't. They
can't.
can't afford it. They're giving you less of more of a discount, but you still have to buy. And they used to be free. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not as big there's so many opportunities now. There's so many show houses and so many television shows and so many different avenues that if they did it for one, I mean, they could go out of business doing it. I mean, these are small
mhm,
brands that don't have the huge budgets for giving away
yeah,
materials all the time. I mean, I have brand makers asking me often, like, "Is it worth it if I give this? It seems like it's very expensive." I mean, it's just expensive, and so they have to make sure that they're going to get an ROI. I mean, if you can imagine the profit margin they're making on a
mhm,
custom sofa, they have to probably sell, 20 sofas to make up for the one they
probably.
gave away. And they're
Yeah.
custom. So they're not
And
doing 10 a day, they're
they're
doing
marketing
maybe one a day.
themselves now
You
differently
know?
too. They're marketing through their
Yeah.
designers and promoting the
Yes.
designer's work and also promoting their goods. So it's like a whole different world today than
Right.
it was, even really
Right.
shifting.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So can you go into a little bit too of how you know, find how do you work with the form and function and bringing those pieces together with clients? I know that that is a
Yeah.
really cornerstone of good design. How are you expressing that to clients and how are you making sure you're advocating for both of those throughout
So
the
I think
project?
that form follows function, FFF. You've got to have the functionality there first and then the form and the aesthetics and stylizing. Because if it's not going to function, it's bad design. So there's a lot of things out there that I'll look at
Right.
and I'll be like, yeah, really cool, but how are you going to live in that space? How are you going to function? How are you going to work? How are you going to cook? How are you going to do XYZ? And so if a space doesn't function for your client in the way that they live, work, play, heal,
Hmm.
whatever it is, then it's not a well-designed space. It might be aesthetically pleasing, but it's not a well-designed space. And so I always look at all of that. And, when you're doing this long, it's kind of just in your brain. And then I teach it as well. A student will come in with a fabulous design. And I'm like, well, it's very beautiful, but how are you going to navigate? How are you going to get through? How are you going to open this drawer if you've got your bed here or your kitchen cabinets are knocking each other? So there's so many different things that we have to do. And so if a client just says to me, I just want it to be beautiful, I'll say, well, it will be. But the first and foremost thing is that we want it to function for the way you and your family, or just you, whoever it is, live. Or if you're working in the space, like if it's an office space, how is that going to happen? how many people are going to be involved, what are the roles? Is sound important? Is the seating, like, do you have any issues? You want to also interview them, like what are their likes and dislikes, but also how are they? Do they have any injuries? Do they have any kind of inflammation, diseases, whatever it is? You really have to know who they are inside and out so that you can design properly for them. Because our paints, any kind of VOCs, like all of that is seriously important. And if you don't get that information from the get-go, you're going to be redesigning, and that costs you money, not them. So you want to make
Yes.
sure that you are
Yes.
like loading that cannon with information so that when you come out of the gate, you can just bust out with really, really well intentioned designs that will work for that particular client. Because what works for one won't work for another. So it's not cookie cutter
Right.
design. And these people that say, "Oh,
No.
I can design your plan in a day." Well, how do you know that client right well? How do you know exactly what's going to work for them in a day? So I think you really have to be very careful about that and really, really dive deep in order to get the answers you need to do the best work for them so that they call you, "Oh my God, we love our space. It's not only beautiful, but we love cooking in it, or we love watching TV in it, or we love working in it." Like whatever it is, sleeping, like even a sleep space, like you have to think about so many things. So I think that that's the most important thing, is the collecting information prior to getting into the design. Because the aesthetic, if you're inclined and you're an
Yes.
interior designer, the aesthetics are not the hard part. The hard part is the function.
Right.
That's the easy, fun
Yeah.
part.
Yes. Yeah. And making sure it works. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. How about the process and systems that you put in place to make that work for your clients too? Are there specific project management softwares? I know my puppy
No,
always comes in to say hi. She loves the
I have one of my
podcast.
team
She
members.
wants to be a unofficial
One of my team
spokesperson
members'
here of
cat
podcast.
runs across her desk and looks in the camera at us every time we're on Zoom. The
Oh,
funniest thing. I think she did
love
it with
it.
a
Love
client one
it.
day. The next time, "Where's the kitty?" Like, it's just so funny. So we love that systems, and I've tried so many different things. I wrote a book, Interior Design Productivity Toolbox, and it's all about systems. My
I know.
checklists are my thing. I have checklists for everything in my
Yes.
life, whether it's personal, whether it's for my mom who has dementia, or a client, or my team. And we have to go in and check the boxes on the checklists. Now, when I wrote the book, there were no Google Sheets and there were no Google Docs. And so we used to create Word, but now it's so easy with Google Docs because we can share with the team. Everybody can go in, edit, comment, check off what they've done so I can check workflow. Everybody's accountable, because I think accountability is the biggest thing, the most important thing with your team and with your clients. You're being held accountable. You've got to hold your clients accountable too. So having those systems are
Yes.
really, really important. We like to do a team meeting in the morning to start the day, see if there's anything that happened in overflow after we last, met or talked, and then what's our action list for the day. And that sets us off on a good note to go and split up and divide and conquer. And then with clients, we'll also do like update meetings, and we'll send them an agenda, and somebody's taking minutes, and then we'll send the minutes out. And it's a really great way to document your workflow, your processes, and keep everybody honest. Because if somebody says, "Oh, we never approved that," well, I'm sorry, but we have minutes from the Zoom. We have a recording on Zoom where you approved it, or whatever it is. So it's a really,
Right.
really good way to keep everyone honest. And what if I forgot something? "Oh my God, I never said that." Well, you did. Look, it's in your minutes. "Oh wow, I
Right.
did." So, sometimes even we, with all of our balls in the
People
air,
forget we're
and
human.
we all have a million in this profession. So we'll make mistakes, and you just have to own them and then learn from them. Like the wins and
Yeah.
learns are really important.
I'd love to talk a little bit. We're going to talk about business strategy and coaching because I love that you're what you do. But I want to first start. How do you? This is always a question everybody wonders. Is like do you process your billing? What does that look like for a client? Are you hourly? Are you flat fee? How did you make this
So
work
I
for your
started my business
business?
in 1993 when I graduated from FIT. And I had interned with Ellen Fisher, who's the Dean of New York School of Interior Design now, but she was my professor at FIT and a mentor for me. And while interning, she said to me, because I was like, how do you charge? Because she taught me professional practice. She was my teacher and then a studio teacher. And she said, listen, my mother was a bookkeeper. She's my bookkeeper. She always told me to just let the clients pay with their checks because there was not a lot of credit card in those days. And if they pay with their checks, then it doesn't have to go through your books. You don't have to deal with it. You don't have to deal with the resale taxes, and your books are clean, and anything that's coming in is profit for you and paying your team. So I was like, oh, and I thought everything she said was gold. So I, of course, modeled after her. Then I started going to market and ASID, and people would talk about charging and everything. And I told them I do cost plus and I charge a big design fee in the beginning for the plans and elevations and a few shopping trips. And then I charge hourly for meetings with contractors, being on site for deliveries and installations, anything else like that. So all of my friends were like, what? You do that? They're like, you can't do that. You have to pay for everything. I said, why? Because I didn't know any better. I listened and I just did it. And
Sure.
now everybody's changing their mind. Not everybody, but many, many people are following this method because it's really a major cost transparency. Like you could say you're cost transparent, but
Yeah.
some people really aren't. But if they're paying the vendor directly, there's no thing being hidden. And not every vendor will do it, but
Right.
90% will. And the other 10% I'll pay.
Okay.
I had one project recently, a
Right.
huge project where I was spending on my MX about 150 to 200 a month, thousand. And I had to do it that way because there was a management firm involved. And until they would cut a check to a vendor, we'd lose the stock. It was just, I couldn't take it. So I just bit the bullet and did it, raised all my limits with Amex and just let it go. But I paid the bill every month. I didn't let anything go. And they paid me every month. So it worked, it washed. But the problem with that is the more that you put through with sales tax, you have to then start filing monthly instead of quarterly, and more time and expense
Right.
for your
Right.
team. So if you can do what I've always done and don't have to get caught in the buying for people, it will save you in the long run. You also don't own the product if you don't buy it. The client.
Right. But do you ever with missing out on the income from
Oh, I mark
markup
up.
on product, do
No,
you
I mark
find
up.
that you're
It's-
oh, you do
I
mark up
mark up 35% over
regardless?
net.
Okay, 35% over net. They're just buying it and then
Right.
you
So
bill
I
them
do a
separately for
purchase
your
management
markup?
fee because I'm managing the purchase. I pay for it on
Okay.
their credit card. I manage the purchase. I manage
Okay.
the shipping, everything, like where it goes. Is it going to a receiver? Is it going to the house? All of that. And I pay the balances if there's a
Okay.
balance, if it's a deposit and a balance versus upfront.
Do you make that's you're giving me an interesting question. If you do 35% cost plus, is that
Everything.
on everything? Is that
Everything. And it's
everything?
in my letter of agreement.
Appliances?
I don't care if it's
Appliances, is
appliances.
that
I don't care if it's
assumed?
kitchen cabinetry, objet d'art. I don't, because the amount of
Oh,
work that we are doing for those clients is a cost savings. Other people are charging
yes.
hourly for every phone call they make to a vendor, all of that in addition to their markups. But I'm not doing that. So, and I'm
Right.
advocating for them at I'm not going to go into it, but this one job that we had so much go to the receiver and so many things that were damaged from really well-known vendors. And then all the repairs and all of that, like they wouldn't have known what to do. They wouldn't have any way to do that. And we have all of the skill sets and the contacts in place to handle everything. That's a service. So that goes into
It
my
is.
markup and it's fully out there. So they're
Yes.
signing a contract. And I say, whether it's at retail or with my
Right.
discount, it's 35 over net. Net is whatever the price is.
So
Right.
the one question I have is, what do you say to the people who say, how do you protect yourself for damages? Like if something happens and you have to replace something, They say, they always say charge enough so that if a piece is damaged or it has to be returned and you have to replace it, there's enough in that markup that you can replace it. And then they even say, and don't call it a
No,
markup
I
because
don't
it's
call it a
not
markup. I
really,
call it cost plus
you know,
purchase management fee. I use
right.
purchase
And they
management
say,
fee in my
make
agreement,
sure,
but I also have a clause in the agreement
yeah.
that I'm not responsible for any malfeasance of any vendor or anything coming in damaged
Mhm.
or canceled. I will help them to replace
Ah,
that item for the same fee.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I already charged them a fee and I want them
Yes,
to
yes,
feel
yes,
empowered,
yes,
but I will not be
yes.
responsible. I don't own it. I have a friend, she's got a warehouse full of furniture
Oh, that's right.
because she
Yep.
charges, she thinks she's making more money, but she's got a whole warehouse full of furniture that clients have pushed back on and she has to now eat.
That's right. You just said you don't own it. I just made the connection. So that's right. You don't even own the piece because of the way you're charging. So they already have owner. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, you're just
That's right.
managing the owner. That's brilliant, actually. And I haven't heard one that I've actually been. I might subscribe to this because normally people can't convince me, and I'm usually like, no, I don't think so. But this is good. Like this is really making me think. Like as soon as we get off of this podcast, I think I might go in and change my fee schedule. This is really good. This is
But
really,
it's
really
really
good.
been
Yeah, I like this a lot.
That has never happened, by the way. We've been
No,
doing this
no,
podcast for
for
2 years.
yeah.
That is never Nile has never said
I'm
that.
I'm never I'm never convinced, but this one is
and
really,
it's worked
really
for
good because I
33
do love.
years. So
Yeah, I love the fact that you're transparent. I love the fact that you're still getting paid. I love the fact that you're showing people that look, this is still a lot of work. There's still a lot happening on my end, but I love the fact that hey, I'm still giving you a value add because I'm giving you a lot, but you're still not being charged what you would be charged if I were charging you like
right.
this, right? But you're not slighting
No,
yourself
and
either. Everybody,
when
everybody
I
wins. I
when
think
I
you
was
know what I
years
mean.
and years ago in a think tank and we had to do NDAs and to be in this group, I remember he would look at our Excel, like for our P&L, our profit and loss, and he said, "You're one of the most profitable businesses in this group." And I was like, "What?" Because there were like major name designers in this group. And I'm like, me? And it was 20 years ago. And I did not
Wow.
know, like, I had so many people telling me I was doing it wrong and I could make so much more money the other way. But I just couldn't wrap my head around how I would do that and change it and deal with all the bookkeeping and everything with my bookkeeper. I just didn't want that. I liked the control I had over my finances. It felt good to me to just pass through. I'm making a big design fee also. It's not just the cost plus. So,
Right,
they're
right,
getting
right,
a big
right.
flat fee.
Yeah.
And I do not call it a retainer because it's not. It is a design fee that they have to pay upon signing the contract in full. And it's listing everything in my letter of agreement of what I'm giving them for that design fee. How many shopping days, how many iterations of a plan, which rooms are getting these drawings, which rooms would require elevations, because in bathrooms we do major elevational drawings and plan. We get into tile elevations, like we really do a full set. So it's, depending on the depth of the project is how I create the design fee. And I don't always do it
Can
by
you
the square
explain
foot
why?
because it doesn't work.
I bet you. I bet you there's a lot of people who don't understand why you don't call it a retainer. What can you
I
explain that?
can.
Because I'm sure
So
there are tons of people who
you
won't
may
understand that.
know
Yeah.
a name, Alan Siegel. He is like interior
Yes.
designer's attorney. He's written books. He's spoken a million.
Yes.
He's a wonderful man. I know him personally. He's really wonderful. So
Yes.
Alan Siegel, I had his book in professional practice. I went through it all the time. And then I went to everything he ever gave that I was able to go to because I knew I'd get a nugget, a gold nugget every time. I never ever called it a retainer. And I always used to call it a purchasing fee. Then I moved to purchase management fee because that's really what it is. And we were at a seminar a couple of years ago where he told everybody, do not use the word retainer. Because if you do and you get that retainer and they leave, you have to give them back the money. Retainer means you're retaining their money. You don't own the money. So all these people working off
Mm.
retainer and a project goes south, they have to deal with that. And it's not a win-win
Right.
situation.
And that's a huge liability because I've seen tons of designers where that goes south and then that client still does the
Yeah.
design
Oh, and
that
I had
with
a
someone
whole
else.
clause in my project about that too, that our drawings are
Yeah. Yeah.
copyrighted and you can't use them with another designer without our permission or another architect without our permission. So that's in my contract also. But
Yeah.
I check the
That
boilerplate
is
clauses at the
fantastic.
end in the last part. But it's long. My contract
Yeah.
is 5 pages long, and I make the clients initial each page because if you ever heard this one, oh, I didn't even really read it. I just signed it. I don't know what you said. And now I'm thinking about it and I'm like,
Yep.
I'm sorry, but you did read it. Or if you didn't, that's not on me. And every
Yep.
page
You
you
signed every
initial.
page.
And that's smart. That's smart because that actually holds
Yes.
up in court if they say I didn't read it. Like I didn't know that. I'm like, well, they signed the last. No, it's smart to have them initial every page because it will hold up in court if they say, well, I didn't really read that. I never knew that that would hold up. I heard that that will hold up. So, and I've seen examples of it. So that's smart to have them sign every
And
page.
knock
Yeah.
wood, I've never had
Wow.
any litigation. Um, there was one client that had a kid with leukemia and it was a flat fee, but they didn't do what they needed to do. And so I went above and beyond what I had to do for them. I consulted my attorney and I said, look, the kid has leukemia. I don't know if the kid is even going to live. He's a baby. He was 2 years old. One of the husband's
Oh,
sister went to law school. She wasn't even a practicing lawyer. And she was like litigating, with me on the phone. And I was like, you know what? I'm shutting this down now. I'm not doing any more work. They owed me money. And I felt that it was worth it for me to just let it go. The money was not as
Yeah.
important as getting that energy out of my field. And they had enough negative stuff going on. I didn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to make those
Yeah.
kinds of
yeah.
decisions, but those are always better than being litigious because money will
Yeah.
come,
Right.
Yeah.
but the angst and the negative energy around being in a litigation affects everything else in your life. And your other yummy clients might
Oh my
pick up
God.
on that. So I feel like you want to just lose that as quickly as you can.
Right. Right. Put it
Yeah.
behind you, go forward with positivity and trying
Hmm.
to get something new. Now, let's talk about how you got into coaching and how that became part of what you do
Yeah.
because
So
I'm
it was
interested.
really organic. I never planned it.
Sure.
I was teaching for a lot of years by the time I wrote my
Sure.
book. And then I started getting all these speaking engagements. Design Manager hired me to do a webinar. So I wrote a whole PowerPoint and then that sparked ASID to want me to do speaking for them. And I had all these CEUs that I was creating and, going out there. And then from every one of them, people would call, I really want to work with you. I like what you're doing. I like the things that you're talking about. So I all of a sudden realized after I was starting to talk with them and I was so excited about it. But then I'm like, this is, my intellectual property and I should get paid for it. I shouldn't just give free advice. I'm not Dear Abby. So I started to do the coaching business and I had a lot of private coaching clients that didn't want other people to know. And then I had a couple of group coaching situations, which were really fun and very gratifying because I put them together and I watched them collaborate and I gave them role play exercises. And it was really fun to see and monitor and help them to grow. And I got some really beautiful feedback from that. And I really love that. I love just giving back to the community is really important to me. I've served on ASID and in many different iterations, and I love that. And that's really important to me. And now I'm getting involved in my Delta Gamma fraternities alumni group here in Florida. It's like so different, but I love giving back. It's a part of who I am. My grandparents taught it to us at a very early age, and it's always been something that's been important to me. But it also brings me joy to give back to this community. It's very special. Designers are very special people, and I think that we all learn every day. And we love to learn from each other. And that's a very different thing than other industries. So I think that we're all different in how
Right.
we work, but I think we all have a common denominator, which is passionate about our clients and our creativity. So that kind of spurred
Yes.
coaching, and I love it.
I feel like that was probably the most, and we've interviewed lots of different coaches and financial advocates and strategists through the years we've been doing and this podcast, and even before when we were doing our other hangouts. And I will say it's never been this quite organic situation where you were already teaching,
Yeah.
and this is sort of just like the same thing, really, except to the community that are not students anymore. Because it doesn't, your education in design does not end in design
Never.
school, and it never
I'm
will.
No.
constantly
There's
learning,
so much more to
constantly.
learn.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. This is one of those fields
Exactly.
you cannot, everything is a learning experience. And I was having a conversation with a designer today, and she's like, I really love it, and it sounds awful, but I love it when I fail because I learn so much more from failing than I do from easy
Yes.
clients. I mean, easy clients are great, but if I'm not running up against a
Very
challenge, I'm not
true.
learning anything. And I have everything that I've learned has helped me. And to look at it that way, instead of like, I've had this terrible fail that is, I did this, and you get down on yourself. You can look at it in the way that it destroys you in so many ways, to think that I dropped the ball, or I didn't notice what I needed to notice, or I'm not as good as I thought I was, whatever that might be in your head, rather than, understanding you're learning, to look at it as a
Exactly.
learning experience, and you're never going to
No,
make that mistake again.
no.
you
If
know
you get out,
You're never gonna
just
make
get
that
out
mistake
if you do
again.
it again.
Yeah,
It's like, once, okay. If you do it twice, then it's on you. But I think that owning a
yeah.
loss or a lose or a learn, I like the learn better because it's more positive when you
I
can
love the
learn.
learn. I
Yeah.
love
It's
that you're
so
saying
good.
that. Yeah.
My sister actually taught it to me, and she learned it from one of her bosses. And I just thought it was so great because it just spins the negativity out of it because we learn every day.
Mhm.
I learn from my students, I learn from my
Yeah,
clients, I learn from my friends, I learn from my team, all the time. And I think that that's really, really important. And
sure.
that kind of feeds my soul and makes me still want to do this at this age. It's
Yeah,
just,
right. And there are designers that are semi-retired and just
right.
picking projects that they want
Hmm.
later on down the road, and they're still learning. They might be in their 80s and they're still learning. And we had a designer at KBiz that we did a tour at KBiz with 20 designers, and there was an
Love
80-year-old
that.
designer on the tour with us.
That's
I loved
fantastic.
it. I
Awesome.
loved it. I was so blown away. Like, not only are you coming to KBiz, which is
Yeah. Heavy
it's a
lift.
lot of walking, you know, but that you're still trying to learn. You're still part of the tour to try to learn what you can learn. I couldn't have said nicer things about this woman. She was just lovely, lovely, lovely. But in your 80s, coming
But
to
you know what?
KBiz and
That's
going on
what's
a tour,
feeding her
I just
soul.
couldn't.
That's what's keeping her
Yeah,
young.
It
exactly.
is.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, if
Exactly.
Yeah.
you're doing
Yeah.
something you
Yes.
love,
Yeah.
She was this little petite little
yeah,
woman, and she
if
was
you're
just
doing
hustling
what you
through.
love,
She was a little slower, but she was
you're
doing it.
great.
We loved it. It was so great, and it's such a great mix. I think the youngest designer was early 20s, and then of course all the way to 80s, in a
Fabulous.
group of 25 people. It was so cool to see. So I love that is part of your ethos, that you really believe in education, always learning from every source that you have come into contact with, because you don't know what
No,
you
you
don't
don't.
know.
You don't. And with the way our world is going, like at first when I heard of being in the cloud, I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't do that. Now we're all on the cloud, right? Whatever that is. And now it's like, oh, ChatGPT, blah, blah. And I think if you use it responsibly, I don't know a better way to, it's like you drink responsibly or you eat responsibly, you use ChatGPT responsibly, like you're going to be able to benefit from it. If you're not doing that
Right.
and you're just dialing it in, then it's no good. Then it's like every other. So I
Right.
think that we have to look at the
Yes.
tools out there and constantly push ourselves to learn and adapt. But I think that if you're not going to do that, then you're never going to grow.
Right. Yeah. Tell us a little bit. I'm curious about your team. How does your team structured? How do you view team building? What does that look
Well,
like for
it's
your
funny because I have a
business?
newsletter coming tomorrow, and that's part of the article, like the soft skills and
Yay.
communication. But I think that you're only as good as your team members. And I really I throw them in because I know what they can do and they learn very quickly. Most of them, everyone but one started as my student, then became my intern, and then became a junior designer or project manager, depending on what it was. One woman went to FIT. She was very good friends with a woman that left to move to California. And she came in to work with me, but she couldn't really do what I needed her to do at the time because she had a baby. And then years later, she started doing CAD with us. And then I had a huge project, needed to build team even more, like amplify it for that project. And I brought her in as a project manager. And so she was giving me a couple of days a week. And so I've been very like organic with my team too. I build it, I release it, depending on what's happening. But I really spend a lot of time mentoring my team and really like letting them shadow all the client things that we're doing, whether it's a site visit or a meeting, or a shopping trip, whatever it is. I love for them to be there. They're taking minutes, they're going and getting samples, whatever it is, but they're involved. They're taking notes. And then they're
I love
reporting it
that.
all back to me, and I'm going over what they did. Can we do this a little differently? Can we do this? And then they're doing drawings that I don't have the time to do. I have to run the business and be the rainmaker. So I love that they have such great skills. Their CAD, their Revit, their renderings for Rhino and SketchUp and Enscape, like all these programs. And I go in and I look and I give them my crits, and then they go back and they edit. And most of them work like hybrid. When we need to be together physically, we're together. Otherwise, we're virtual and we do a couple of Zooms a day to check in and go over workflow. And we join screens, we share screens so I can edit their workflow. And it's worked for me. And it's worked so well that now I had the opportunity to be here in South Florida. So we gave up the Greenwich home, and I'm keeping office space with a design friend of mine in Rye. So I'm subletting with her so I can still be part of the community up there and come up and service my clients and see friends and family that are there and be with my team. And then this week, I brought down one of my long-term junior designers. She's 3 years with me, and she was with me for the past 3 days, and we had 3 days of nonstop. And she got to be with the clients. We did 2 clients. We went shopping. We had a full day of deliveries and installs yesterday. So she just texted me. She's like, "This was the most awesome 3 days." Like, I was so grateful to her, and then we shot video at a workroom today, so I could use that for a class. Like, how do you go to a drapery and upholstery workroom? And she's like, "I never got that. I
Right.
got documents. I didn't get a video. I never been to a
Right.
workroom." And I'm like, "Well, now you have." And so, you know, just- I think
Now you
that
have.
those are moments for me that are so rewarding to be able to, have those aha moments with my team. I love it. It's great. And my
Right.
bookkeeper is virtual too.
I think that the world has changed. I really think since COVID, there are a lot of people that are working remotely and their teams look in a lot of different ways than they used to. And I think that's really smart to keep lean and mean and evolve as time goes on, because businesses that
Yeah.
last have to evolve and change, and they don't look the
No,
same in any given year that they looked like in
exactly.
another year.
And I
So
want to be in
that is
both places
really,
and
you
do
have to
work,
do that.
and in South Florida and also up in the
Yeah.
tri-state. And this allows me to do that. But to be honest with you, I've been working in this model my entire career. I've never had
Wow.
someone that
Right.
came to the office 5 days a week, ever, in 33 years.
Wow.
It's always been,
That
we
is
work at the
fantastic,
site. If
though,
it's a
for
build
them.
site, we would go in the freezing cold with the kerosene heaters they'd bring in, like the whole thing. But we always had, because I found that people that I would bring in because I felt resonation with them as my students, that they liked working in their pajamas. That's how I used to call it back in the day. Because this was before Zoom. We had join.me. So that's how we did everything. We'd meet, we'd go over the plans, we'd mark them up. It was before FaceTime or anything. This was in 2002 that I started doing. So
Yeah.
it's been very interesting. And I think it just worked for me to do it this way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, you've definitely been an early trendsetter when it comes to
Clearly.
how you're doing things. I want to end on a note of talking about your thought leadership and legacy that you have been building in your career. Have you considered offering more that you're already coaching, but what is it something that you want to leave behind the world of interior design and designers that listen to you, follow you, learn from you?
So I think that, there are a lot of thought leaders out there in the world. I think the difference for me is bringing the mindset into it and not just focusing on this very narrow business, be tough, be lean, be this, be that, but that mindset piece, the manifestation of success, and being able to share that aspect of things with different people. Like I sent this meditation to someone who was really struggling, a colleague, not a client or a colleague, a design colleague. And she was really kind of like, what did I get myself into? I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. I'm praying. And I said, are you open to a different way of looking at things? And so I sent her a couple of really amazing manifesting videos that I've been using. And I think that when you start to bring that into your mindset and you think, okay, I want to grow my business, right? I'm at this point, I don't know, should I stay here or should I really grow big? And for some people, they don't want to ever be big, but other people really have these dreams of being big and they don't know what to do. But there's a book, X or 2X, and I can't remember the author right this moment, but you'll find it. And it's better when you do it as an audio book because you really hear the author sharing their knowledge. And it's just as easy to 10X as it is to 2X. And even like Pareto's rule, 1% is huge. So if you think about it, you want to, if you want to get to that next level, think bigger, not smaller, and think, how do you do that? Maybe you bring in an integrator, like a fractional integrator that is like a COO, like a chief operations officer, and they can kind of pinpoint all these different things in your business, but it's not so heavy a lift as bringing in a full timer. They do this for different businesses, so they have huge amounts of experience all around that area. And I learned a lot about this from Rocket Fuel, reading Rocket Fuel and looking at EOS training. So I'm constantly learning and constantly trying to
I love
evolve the
that.
way that I think, the way that I manifest out to the world, and the way that I share with my clients and my students and colleagues. Because to me, that's the best. If you give, you get.
I love your mindset. I really think that this is a positive thing for designers to be paying attention to. I'm going to actually, once we get offline, ask you to email me the
Mantra.
meditations that you said, because I think that those, and the
Yeah.
mantra, because I think that those things are really important for designers to pay attention to. This is a very stressful business, and it sounds like you have cornered the navigation of it emotionally as well as the
Yeah.
job
And
itself.
you know, hon-
So you
honest.
learned the job and the
Sometimes
systems,
you
and put
forget.
all of that in place, but you're also managing your emotions
Well, I
so
really
well.
try. But to be honest and transparent, sometimes I lose it like everyone else. Like this morning,
Sure.
this
Yeah.
delivery guy calls. I'm like, you have what? Like, I didn't even know who he was. I couldn't understand a word he was saying. And I had worked out a whole protocol for that with the vendor. And I got off and I'm like, what the how is this happening? Why do I bother? And then I'm like, okay, breathe, think about what's good, make the call, let her handle it, and that's it. And you just like put it back into
Yeah.
perspective. But we all we're human. So have the pity party,
Mm.
but don't
Yes.
continue in the pity party. You could have it for a moment
Right.
and then breathe and course correct because it's just not
Yes.
worth it to be in that space because nothing good comes from that. I remember someone telling me once years ago, and
No.
she's now, if she's still on the planet, she's in her 80s. And she would say, "Oh, if I worry about it and I think about all the bad won't happen and only the good will." I'm like, no, that is so counterintuitive.
How it works.
Not going to happen that way. And I couldn't, and I was, then I started watching her energy and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to be around this. This is not positive. This is not healthy. And that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. So, we really have to think about how we're setting up our mindset because it really does control what you do. You could go in such an amazing job, but I'll
Right.
never get it. I'm not good enough for this. I've heard that from many coaching clients when they come to me.
Yes.
And I'm like, really? Is that the story that you really want to tell yourself? Is that your story? Because we've got to change that story. It's not
Right.
real. It's your ego getting in and
Right.
the little icky people that live in the head getting in.
I heard it was a TikTok of a girl who she, that inner voice, that inner critic, she named it. And she's like, will say, listen, Susan, I don't have time for that negativity today. And she just named that inner voice in her head. And she's like, something about naming it was super helpful for her because she could make it
Right.
other than her.
Mhm.
Not
I love
her.
that.
So just by giving it a name, I thought it was very interesting. What a
That's
neat
really
way to
cool.
do it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Right.
not you really. It's this negative voice in your head, and you can give it a name and you could say, Susan, my darling, I don't have time
I
for your
I love that
negativity.
actually. I love that.
Great.
And you just stop and you go on and you do the things you need to do. So I love that mindset is such an important aspect because I think that's the one thing that I mean, obviously designers struggle with pricing and money and that is something that is
It's
a
eternal.
part of
It's
that
eternal.
we're all trying to figure out. We're all trying, yes. But I think the
Yeah.
mindset is equally important because that's what keeps designers up at night. That's what that gnawing feeling in your stomach is. That's the mind thoughts racing and
Yep.
the
Oh,
health problems that
100%.
come from
And
that
also,
Yep.
you're
into the
getting
design,
energy from
you
your
know?
clients all day long. And
Right.
you've got to figure
Sure.
out also ways in which you can let that go. For me, yoga is a huge part of
Sure.
like what makes my heart sing. And if I don't do yoga once a week at least, I'm not good because I need that to feel good. I also work out a lot. I work out,
For yourself.
including the yoga,
Yes.
6 days a week. I take one day of rest. But
Yes.
for me, that's paramount to keeping me level. Because if I don't do
Right.
for me
Right.
first, then I can't do for anybody else.
Yes. And I think that's equally, or actually not equally, more important for those designers out
A
there who are
hundred
parents
percent.
because it is a hard job to be a parent and you're often only giving to everyone else and you just don't give to yourself enough. And I'd love to see that change and become a priority to designers. And it's easier said than done. I know it
But you know
is,
what?
but
Nothing good is
it is
easy.
so, so important.
You
No,
have
it is.
to
You're right. And it's
work for
like
that.
setting that it could be just a
Yeah.
morning walk. I'm a walker,
Oh
so
yeah.
like morning walk to just make sure you've got that time for yourself. Sometimes like I'm, complaining to my husband the entire time we're walking, but we're walking every morning and we're having these conversations and I feel and then I treat myself like with breakfast after and like it's just a way
I
to
get up
like
early
have
to have the my time,
morning feels right.
to just like have the
Me too.
peace.
Yes.
And we live on the water here, and it's the most beautiful. The sun is coming up over Singer Island, and it's breathtaking, and it's really magical. It affects you internally, and just for me,
Sure.
water is healing
Nature
for
in
me.
general.
It always
Yeah.
has been. I'm not a water sign,
Mhm.
but yet I am. And I really feel like right now I'm looking out the window and it's the water, and I feel very filled up, like my cup is full being here. I don't feel this way
Yeah.
when I'm in
Yes.
New
I get
York or
that.
Connecticut. I just don't. And so it's something different. And
Right.
I think that you have to also think about that and resonate with what makes your heart sing. I love being there, but I don't feel the same way there.
Right,
effort.
right, and figuring out what that is for you, you know,
Right.
your energies and what you're feeling. That's so fantastic. Well,
It
this
was
has been so
wonderful being
fantastic. We've
here.
loved having you. You've been a fantastic guest. We really have enjoyed this podcast. Both Niall and I
Thank
have a
Immensely.
lot of work
you. All
to
right. Enjoy
do.
it too.
Yes, yes, and we'll make sure all of our listeners get all the information about how to follow
Great.
you
And
and
our
stay in
website
touch.
just launched, our new website.
Thank
So
you.
you can check.
Wonderful. Yeah, definitely. We will make sure that links
Perfect.
are aplenty.
Everywhere.
Thank you both
Yes.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.